Jimmy was born on September 14th, 1989, in Houston, Texas. His father left when he was just an infant, and when Jimmy turned 13, his mother looked him in the eye and said words that would haunt him for life. "I don't like the look of you. You have to go." With no father, no siblings, no extended family to fall back on, Jimmy Butler was alone. What followed wasn't a movie montage of quick success. It was night after night of couch surfing, sometimes at friends' homes, sometimes with strangers, 2 nights here, a week there. When no bed was available, he wandered the streets of Tomball, Texas. Not knowing where his next meal or shelter would come from, school became an afterthought. Survival was his curriculum. Despite everything, Jimmy never acted like a victim. He didn't complain. He didn't beg. He just kept moving. He found brief peace on the local courts, where even at 5'3", he played his heart out. He wasn't the tallest. He wasn't the fastest. But he hated to lose. That fire, that obsession with competition made people notice Dot. Then came Jordan Leslie, a fellow athlete who challenged Jimmy to a 3-point contest. Jordan saw more than just a jump shot. When he learned Jimmy was homeless, he invited him to crash for a night. That night turned into a week, and soon, Jimmy became part of the Lambert family. Michelle Lambert had 7 kids and no reason to take in another teenager off the streets. But something about Jimmy moved her. She gave him structure, responsibility, and most importantly, love. For the first time, Jimmy had a home, not because of basketball, but because someone finally saw the person, not the struggle Dot. It was the beginning of everything. By the time Jimmy Butler graduated from Tomball High School in 2007, he had stability, but not stardom. He averaged 20 points and 9 rebounds per game his senior year, even earned all-district first-team honors, but college scouts barely glanced his way. He wasn't ranked nationally. In fact, he was listed as the 73rd best player in the state of Texas, while most elite players were making headlines on the AAU circuit. Jimmy wasn't even playing in tournaments. He wasn't part of any top-tier program. He had no hype, no highlight. Reels, just heart. So when Tyler Junior College offered him a spot, he didn't hesitate. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a shot, and Jimmy knew how to take a shot when it came Dot at Tyler. He made noise fast. In his debut game, he dropped 34 points. That wasn't a fluke. He followed it up with multiple 30 and 40-point games throughout the season, averaging 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. For the first time, he started turning heads, not because of flashy moves, but because of effort, IQ, and pure competitiveness. That grind earned him an offer from Marquette University. But Jimmy didn't choose Marquette because of basketball. He picked it for academics. He still didn't believe basketball would take him far. He even faxed in his letter of intent from a local McDonald's. No visit, no celebration. Just another bet on himself. At Marquette, things got tough. He barely played his first year and averaged only 5 points per game. He missed his family and wanted to quit. But head coach Buzz Williams wasn't letting him off easy. Williams was brutally honest. "Jimmy, you suck." That moment broke something and built something even stronger. Jimmy used that doubt as fuel. After teammate Wesley Matthews got drafted into the NBA, something clicked. "You can make it too," Wes told him. From that day forward, Jimmy went into beast mode. First in the gym, last to leave. No shortcuts. By senior year, he wasn't just on the team. He was the team. Averaging 15 points and 6 rebounds, Jimmy led Marquette to the Sweet 16. No one gave him anything. He earned it all. The 2011 NBA draft came and went without much fanfare for Jimmy Butler. He wasn't a lottery pick. He wasn't on magazine covers. But when the Chicago Bulls called his name with the 30th pick, Jimmy didn't hear validation. He heard opportunity. And that's all he ever needed. The Bulls didn't draft him to lead the team. He was seen as a role player, a defensive stopper, a high-effort guy off the bench. Tom Thibodeau, Chicago's no-nonsense head coach, wasn't offering any handouts. Butler had to fight for every minute. But he was used to fighting, that's all he knew. Then came Derrick Rose's devastating ACL injury during the 2012 playoffs. With Chicago's superstar sidelined, Jimmy's moment arrived. He stepped into the rotation, locking up elite scorers, crashing the boards, and never taking a possession off. His defense was elite, his discipline unmatched. By 2013, when the lull ding went down, Butler got the call to start. He played 43 minutes per game in the playoffs, a clear message from Thibs. I trust you. Jimmy didn't just hold his own, he balled out. In a second-round duel against LeBron James and the Miami Heat, Butler was fearless. He couldn't create his own shot yet, but he made up for it with effort, positioning, and pure toughness. Most role players peak here, happy to stick around the league. But not Jimmy. He wanted more. He wanted to lead, ****** by his fourth season. The evolution began. Jimmy's offense exploded. He bulked up, improved his handle, and added a deadly mid-range game. He averaged 20 points per game in the 2014-15 season, more than doubling his previous year, and earned his first All-Star nod. But his rise came with friction. The Bulls were falling apart, injuries, coaching turmoil, and teammates. More focused on stat lines than wins, Jimmy wanted excellence. Others wanted comfort. In 2017, the Bulls cut ties and sent him to the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was supposed to be his team, and he delivered, leading the Wolves to their first playoff appearance in 14 years. But familiar problems returned. Teammates lacked urgency. Jimmy wasn't built for mediocrity. So he torched them, literally, in a now legendary practice using G League bench players to dominate the starters. Message sent, "You need me." And the rest of the league heard it loud and clear. When Jimmy Butler landed in Minnesota in 2017, it was supposed to be a fresh start, a young core, a rising franchise, and finally, a team to call his own. But what the Timberwolves didn't realize was that Butler wasn't showing up to make friends. He came to win. And that mindset clashed immediately with the culture inside the locker room. He saw immaturity, lack of accountability, players laughing after losses. For someone like Jimmy, who'd built his entire life on resilience and grind, that was disrespect. And it boiled over during an infamous practice session in October 2018. Jimmy walked in late, took the court with third stringers, and annihilated the starters. Trash-talking the GM mid-practice, he yelled, "UF ****, you need me." That meltdown wasn't about ego. It was a statement. Jimmy wasn't just exposing his teammates. He was exposing the franchise's standards. And while the media painted him as toxic, what he was really doing was demanding excellence. Not everyone can handle that. Days later, he demanded a trade. Minnesota caved. Next stop, Philadelphia. A stacked Sixers squad with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. On paper, it looked like a finals run waiting to happen. But behind the scenes, chaos. Jimmy clashed with Brett Brown over strategy. He questioned leadership. And most importantly, he didn't trust Simmons, especially in the playoffs. That lack of chemistry hit hard when the Sixers were eliminated by Kawhi Leonard's miracle buzzer beater in Game 7. Butler quietly exited in the off-season. That's when the narrative really started to shift. Critics labeled him a locker room cancer. They called him difficult, confrontational, even egotistical. But Jimmy never cared about optics. He only cared about winning. And if that made people uncomfortable, so be it. Still, not everything was under his control. Injuries started to pile up. Ankle sprains, back tightness, knee soreness, the price of going full throttle every night. He missed games, sat out key stretches, and carried the label of being high risk. But Jimmy never complained. He rehabbed, he showed up, and he stayed ready because Jimmy wasn't just chasing respect. He was hunting legacy, and that legacy was about to get forged in the fire of Miami. When Jimmy Butler signed with the Miami Heat in 2019, people scoffed. No super team, no co-star. Just Jimmy joining a franchise known for its no excuses culture. But what outsiders didn't realize was that this was the perfect storm. The Heat didn't want hype, they wanted heart. And Butler was all heart. Under Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley, Jimmy unlocked his final form. He doubled down on the things that made him different: defensive tenacity, leadership, and elite conditioning, but also expanded his offensive toolkit. His mid-range game became surgical. His floater was money. And when defenses collapsed, he delivered dimes with precision. At his peak in Miami, he averaged over 6 assists and flirted with triple-doubles nightly, but Jimmy's greatness wasn't defined by regular season stats. It was in the playoffs, when everything's on the line, that Butler morphed into a monster. He didn't just show up. He took over in the 2020 NBA bubble with no fans, no distractions, and no mercy. Jimmy dragged a banged-up Heat squad to the NBA Finals. Against a full-strength Lakers team, he dropped a 40-point triple-double in Game 3 and a gutsy 35-point performance in Game 5. Going toe-to-toe with LeBron James, he joined LeBron and Jerry West as the only players in finals history with a 40-point triple-dash double-dot. Even in defeat, Butler earned universal respect. He wasn't just a star anymore. He was a franchise cornerstone, a playoff savage, and he wasn't done. In the 2022 playoffs, Jimmy turned into a one-man wrecking crew. 8 30-point games, 4 40 bombs. In Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, he dropped 47 on Boston in their own building, then followed up with 35 in Game 7, playing every second of the game. They fell short, but Jimmy's legacy only grew. Then came 2023. Miami barely scraped into the playoffs. No one gave them a chance against the top-seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Jimmy didn't care. He detonated for 56 points in Game 4, the fourth highest scoring game in playoff history, then buried Milwaukee with 42 more in Game 5. The Heat made the finals again. And though they lost to Denver, Jimmy walked away with something bigger than a ring. He walked away immortal. Jimmy Butler's story isn't just about basketball. It's about survival, about never folding, no matter how stacked the odds. From a homeless teenager in Tomball, Texas, to a 2-time NBA Finals leader, Butler didn't follow the blueprint. He tore it up and made his own. He was never supposed to be here, not with those high school rankings, not without a D1 scholarship, not with that late first-round pick. The league didn't expect him to be more than a role player, maybe a decent defender off the bench. But Jimmy doesn't play by expectations. He rewrites them. Every step of the way, people called him difficult, too intense, too confrontational. But when you come from nothing, you don't tolerate laziness. You don't accept mediocrity. And you damn sure don't waste opportunities. That's why wherever he went, Jimmy clashed with teammates who didn't share his hunger. Because for Butler, this was never just a game. It was War Dot, and when he found the Heat, a team built on grit, culture, and accountability, it all clicked. He wasn't just accepted, he was understood. That's when Jimmy Butler became something bigger than a star. He became a leader, a symbol of hard-earned greatness. Dot on the court. He's a machine, crashing the boards, locking up the opposing team's best player, draining mid-range jumpers with cold-blooded precision. But off the court, he's still that same kid, overlooked, counted out, told, "You're not enough." And maybe that's what fuels him. Not the fame, not the stats, not even the legacy, just the drive to prove that toughness, resilience, and pure willpower can take you farther than talent alone. Dot. So whether or not he ever wins a ring, Jimmy Butler has already cemented himself in the game's DNA. The guy who never backed down. The guy who carried his team when it mattered most. The guy who turned pain into power and rejection into redemption. Because in a league full of flash, Jimmy Butler is all fire. And that right there is why he'll be remembered. Not just as a Heat legend, but as one of the realest to ever do it.